Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a detailed look at the incoming risk of severe thunderstorms through the latter part of this afternoon, through the evening and overnight hours. We've got some very warm, humid air pushing up from the south combined with lower pressure developing over the top of us, and we're going to be seeing some big thunderstorms break out, as said, through the rest of today and eventually turning into a larger area of heavy rain as it heads through Northern Ireland, Northern England and Scotland. And we do have rain warnings issued in these regions, as once those thunderstorms do eventually pass, as said, turn to heavy rain in a widespread region as it turns into a proper big low pressure system and could cause some disruption there as well. So we're in for a very lively rest of the day. Got a few hours of rain around at the moment, but as I'm calling this around midday, nothing too much, but it's around that 2, 3, 4 p.m. point we're expecting things to really explode. So have a look at the latest from the live radar. We'll look at the weather warnings and we'll go through some various precipitation charts as well. We'll finish up just touching on the long range, looking at the GFS and the ensembles at the end of the video. So do remember, if you enjoy videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well. The link's in the description. So to start on the live radar, you can see there's a bit of activity going on at the moment in terms of a few heavy showers. Got some across parts of Wales, Republic of Ireland, Northern Ireland, and some lighter showers across Northern England and Scotland. We did see some rain overnight spreading up from the south, some heavy rain in places, some decaying thunderstorms as well, but nothing too severe, just giving a sprinkling of rain in quite a few regions, as we haven't got a lot of instability around, but it's really going to be taking off, as I said, through the rest of today. Now, if we look to our south, we've got a big, large area of rain and some embedded thunderstorms within this. Again, they're not the most active thunderstorms at this stage, but there are some still lightning strikes taking place and some very heavy torrential rain. Now, this is the precursor to what's going to be happening later. What is likely to happen is this area of developing low pressure is moving northwards. Ahead of it, around the central England region, we're going to be seeing those big thunderstorms break out. So ahead of this rain band, this isn't the thunderstorms we're going to be seeing. Thunderstorms are developing ahead of the rain band, and eventually this rain will move into southern regions, combining with those thunderstorms that will eventually decay away this evening, turning into that very large mass of precipitation as it does head northwards. So it's a very complicated picture, and it's because we've got all this warmth around and a very strong trigger in this developing low pressure system. That's why we're going to be seeing these severe thunderstorms. Not only, as said, a lot of cape around, but we've got very, very high trigger. Unlike what happened last week, where we saw a lot more energy around, perhaps even more energy than we have at the moment, but the trigger was difficult to achieve. It was more through just simple convection due to sun heating at the surface and small areas of more unstable air. And that's why those thunderstorms were very hard to predict and were very much localized in their regions, with some areas seeing nothing, other areas seeing lots of rain. This is more likely to be a widespread event because we've got widespread trigger through the low pressure system and widespread energy as well. But as I said, around midday, nothing too much taking off as of yet. Temperatures are still going to be pretty warm today, probably mid-20s, but it will feel warm with that. If you do any exercise out there, it's going to feel really oppressive. As with all this energy around, it is caused by very hot and humid air mass. The dew point is very high at the moment. Again, showing you amount of moisture that is in the air. If we look at the dew point, look at those thick green colours, high dew point levels. Again, nothing compared to sort of South America and parts of rainforest regions across the planet, but for the UK, this is a pretty high dew point at the moment, and this means that it's got all this water and energy available for these thunderstorms later today. Now, if you look at the weather warnings, we've still got this widespread yellow thunderstorm warning. I'm surprised we haven't seen an amber warning issue, but again, it may be the same thing we saw last weekend when an amber warning gets issued once the event starts taking place. If so, we'll probably have another short update later about that thunderstorm risk, but of course we'll have to see if that does happen. We've seen other warnings issued with some rain warnings, and we'll look at those in a minute. So we've got this thunderstorm warning that hasn't been changed since yesterday, so do check out yesterday evening's video if you want to have a look at more detail on this. But once again, you could see 30mm of rain in an hour, 60 to 80mm in 3 to 6 hours, and again, whilst uncertainties remain regarding the extent and focus, it's perhaps areas London northwards across the Midlands, Eastern England, East Wales, southern areas of North England that are likely to see the most disruptions, as I said, generally central England into parts of Wales. High impact and increasing in likelihood. So again, this is why an amber warning is very possible, as if that likelihood increases, which would probably happen if we did start to see these big thunderstorms trigger in these specific regions. We will see perhaps an amber warning issued there. Again, it does frustrate me, these warnings, because the risk across central England is so much higher than the southwest of England, where we have an equal warning when you just look at the graphics without looking at the actual paragraph, which is what the majority of people do. They see a yellow warning, they see their region, or they go into their app and say there's a yellow warning. The risk for southwest England compared to parts of central, eastern and northern England, there's a huge gap between that risk, with a high chance of severe thunderstorms here and a pretty low chance of more pop-up storms and generally heavier rain here. But the risk is widespread. I do agree with that. I just think that there should be either an amber warning or a separate warning issued for parts of central England here, as the risk is so much higher. But perhaps we will see that amber warning issued later. But as I said, I hope these amber warnings do get issued in advance so that we can actually prepare for them and actually be able to forecast with those warnings instead of them being issued and just sort of as the event is taking place. If you look at the rain warning issued further northwards from 7 p.m. today until midnight tonight, as I said, the area of low pressure combining with the decaying thunderstorms this evening will eventually form a big mass of rain, and this will be sort of transitioning in this region. So sort of in this dividing line between northern England and southern Scotland, it could just be some very heavy rain, but also could be some active thunderstorms. Very unsure exactly how it will progress and transition to an area, a proper area of an organised area of low pressure, away from sort of the mesoscale system we're expecting initially. So yeah, again, heavy rain, 15 to 25 millimetres in a few hours, 40 to 60 millimetres in a few places, and 80 millimetres again in a few spots. Again, that's where we could see the thunderstorms mixing in. You can see here it's a large area of heavy rain moving northwards across northern England and southern Scotland during Sunday evening, and while some thunder is possible, heavy rain is likely to be the main hazard. So again, highlighting there could be some thundery activity, but mostly just heavy rain. And then thunderstorm warning issued for parts of Northern Ireland. Again, these are for more pop-up thunderstorms, again, scattered thunderstorms from midday today until 9 p.m. this evening. Again, it was issued yesterday, but 30 millimetres an hour, 50 millimetres in a few hours, high impact, low likelihood. And then if we go to tomorrow, we've got a widespread rain warning for northern regions through Scotland and northern England from midnight tonight until midday tomorrow. Again, issued earlier today. Again, 15 to 25 millimetres widely in 3 hours, 40 to 60 millimetres in a few spaces, and 80 millimetres or more as the low pressure system moves northwards. It does look like it slows down a bit, could stall for a bit through the morning hours before clearing off out to our north. So again, a lot of rain dumping here in a short space of time. So if you do now have a look at some of the precipitation charts for this very lively day or rest of the day. As we head over night hours, you can see there was a bit of rain and a few heavy showers in places. Again, some decaying storms coming up from France and a few homegrown showers as well. A bit of a messy picture overnight, giving a bit of a sprinkling and rain in a few regions. As we head through today, you can see around midday, 1 p.m, we're expecting the shower activity to really take off. So pretty much right now, we're expecting that convective potential to really take off from sort of the historical thunderstorms we've had over the last week or two. The models have always been an hour or two in advance of what's happened in reality. Like last weekend, we thought thunderstorms would break out at midday 1 p.m. It was more like 2 or 3 p.m. So perhaps the same thing's happening here, where the models are a little bit in advance of the reality. So we'll just have to see. But thunderstorms are expected to break out in the next hour or two and really grow in size around that 3-4 p.m. point into multi-celled systems. Mesoscale convective system potentially could develop as well, where we see multiple storms developing into a large mass. And then eventually it all accumulates into a big area of heavy rain around 6, 7, 8 p.m, combining with that developing low pressure system in towards our south. And that low pressure system to our south looks like it's a lot heavier and a lot more widespread than the UKV is making out to be. But we'll just have to keep an eye on that later this evening. As I said, thunderstorm risk is the main issue we're going to have But said, as that area of rain develops, we see the thunderstorm risk reduce. Those darker reds, those deep reds, showing torrential rain, start to decrease, but widespread sort of yellows and oranges here, showing heavy rain, sort of 5 to 10 millimeters per hour rainfall rates. As it does spread northwards, and it does stall for a little bit, perhaps in northern regions, but eventually clearing out to sea. And then Monday afternoon, not quite as lively of a day, but still instability around, still energy around, so we're likely to continue to see a few heavy thundery showers, especially in the west. Into Tuesday, could see a massive rain appearing from the south, an area of heavy rain, but doesn't look like a lot of thundery activity in this through the morning hours before heading northwards around lunchtime and clearing out into the North Sea through the afternoon into the evening. It has moved further westwards than the UKV's run yesterday, so we're going to have to keep an eye on the positioning of this. And then as we head into Wednesday, again, could be a few convective showers around, but generally the risk of anything widely heavy and thundery does reduce with more, just a few pop-up scattered showers and generally dry weather. And have to keep an eye on Friday here, as we can see a bit of a massive rain heading up from the southwest. Could this be a sign of a low pressure system rumbling in off the Atlantic? We'll have a look at that on the longer range. The GFS at the end of the video, have to keep a very close eye on that. If we actually do have a look at the upper air temperatures, you can see it's very warm upper air temperatures at the moment. Nothing ridiculously warm, but around the low teens. Again, warm, well above average. And it's the dew points really showing you the humidity out there. Dew points rising to around 18 or 19 degrees. Again, that doesn't sound ridiculously high, but generally we don't get much higher than the mid-teens in the UK. Heat waves are around the sort of high teens, low 20s. That just gives you the amount of energy, or if you put in perspective the amount of energy that is in the air. If we do look at the max temperatures, again this afternoon, temperatures peaking around the mid-20s, again will locally be higher and lower depending on where showers and cloud do develop. And then into Monday, another warm day, perhaps slightly higher than today widely, 25 to 27 as things do turn a little bit dry, especially further southwards. And then into Tuesday, temperatures once again could be high 20s, 25 to 27 in the far east, but for central western regions we see that massive rain moving in, only mid to high teens, just showing you the power of some thick cloud and heavy rain can do to those temperatures. Into Wednesday, as I said, turning quite a bit drier widely, still scattered showers around, so low to mid 20s once again. And into Thursday, another similar pattern, mid 20s, maybe slightly higher, maybe 28 or 29 in a few eastern regions. If you go to the WRF run and have a look at the Cape first, you just reload the page as the latest 6 o'clock run is coming out. So this is data that's just been released. And you see this afternoon, Cape really picking up around the midday point, 1 or 2 p.m. And you see those darker reds appearing, really peaking around that 5 to 7 p.m. That's where we could see the most severe thunderstorms through the late afternoon, early evening. The Cape does diminish this evening, and we see that transition more to heavier rain just through northern England and Scotland around this sort of 8 to 10 p.m. point. And eventually Cape is diminished completely as we do see a frontal low pressure system develop out of the remnants of the thunderstorms and the already active area of rain across northern France at the moment. As we head into Monday, again, some Cape around, but nothing too severe. So again, just pop-up showers and storms. And the same as we head into Tuesday. Could be some high levels Cape in places, so could see some heavy showers and storms. But again, will be scattered and local as we haven't got too much in terms of lift. If you now have a look at the precipitation charts, you can see the showers and thunderstorms taking off around the 2 or 3 p.m. points. Perhaps WRF is a little bit better on the timeline. You see 2 p.m. here, showers just taking off in southern England, and we're already seeing those showers across Wales as well. And 3 p.m. is where they start to turn more into thunderstorms with some of those deeper colours, and oranges appearing around 4, 5 p.m. And I said the peak activity is around that 6 to 8 p.m. point through the Midlands and northern England with severe thunderstorms, some dark reds appearing within there through part of the East Midlands perhaps. So some intense storm activity eventually spiralling off to our north. Rainfall rates are reducing by the morning, but turning into a more organised area of low pressure. So that transition coming through northern England into southern Scotland. It'll be very interesting to watch this on the radar later. So if you are interested, do keep an eye on the radars. We could be seeing some very, very interesting radar developments as it transitions from an area of heavy thunderstorms, perhaps a set of mesoscale system, mesoscale convective system before developing into the low pressure system. And then as you can see into Monday, again, a few heavy scattered showers, and that rainfall could actually linger through northern and western Scotland into Monday afternoon into the evening, and Tuesday could see that heavier rain spread through central areas once again, but again, mostly light to moderate, before eventually we do see more showers breaking out in places. So you can see there still was a risk of some heavier showers through the early part of this upcoming week. And there's that frontal system moving from southwards to northwards on Tuesday, but it should move through quite quickly, so it only should impact any single area for only a few hours. But the rainfall rates will look likely to be much lower than anything we're seeing today and tonight. So yes, it's not going to be bone dry through Monday and Tuesday, but should be generally a bit drier in places. Should be a bit warmer, and any rain you do see won't be as torrential. If you do finish by just looking at the aroma run again, many regard this as the highest resolution model, the best model. Again, it's a French model and only extends just about into parts of England, Wales and the Republic of Ireland. So we can't really see Scotland, so we can't see the northern extent of this low pressure system, but we'll be able to see the thunderstorm activity through this afternoon. So on here we've got the precipitation rate and we've got the Cape levels as well in the purples. So you can see Cape really starts to take off through the early part of the afternoon, around 1,000 joules per kilogram. So again, not quite as high as we saw last weekend, where it did peak around 1,500, perhaps as high as 2,000 on some of the models, but seeing around 1,000 here, maybe slightly higher to maybe into the low 1,100, 1,200 or 50, etc. Around that point, so still very high levels of Cape, and those thunderstorms peaking or starting to really take off around that 2 or 3 p.m. point. For really peaking is a big, perhaps mesoscale convective system through the Midlands and northern England around that 5 or 6 p.m. point. So perhaps slightly in advance of the other runs, but still keeping that very heavy rain and perhaps some thunderstorms developing as late as 7 or 8 p.m. before eventually clearing northwards as this huge mass of rain, and then into Monday a few showers again in places, but nothing too bad. So you can see, again, very heavy rain in places, very big thunderstorms as well, and you can see why we've got widespread yellow warning issued. Again, go back to what I said with the thunderstorm warning, you can see there is the risk of some heavy thundery rain in the far southwest, but those reds are more isolated. It's just generally moderate to heavy rain compared to parts of the Midlands and northern England where we're seeing some severe reds quite widely. And again, I am just a bit frustrated that we are seeing the same warning issued for these two regions, even though you can see that the risk is substantially different. So perhaps that means that the southwest shouldn't see a yellow warning, or perhaps the central England should see an amber warning. I don't know. We'll have to see what happens through this afternoon if we do see an amber warning issued by the Met Office, perhaps when these thunderstorms start to take off around 3 or 4 p.m. Now, if I do finish by just looking at the GFS and the longer range, of course, we'll be concentrating this a lot more in tomorrow's video, as we do have that thunderstorm risk reducing quite substantially through this week. You see the low pressure developing out to our south and our west, pushing northwards through the coming hours, and that's what's giving us the heavy rain and thunderstorm risk over the coming sort of 24 hours or so. As we head through the rest of this week, high pressure does build in temporarily, and that gives us warmer, dry conditions this week. Could see a push of some hot air perhaps towards the end of the week. Not seeing the signs of that low pressure system that the UKV had. It's much further northwards here by the end of the week. So UKV showing that much further southwards. So interesting, there is quite a bit of discrepancy here at day 5. But into the longer range, we do see more southerly winds dominating, which again could indicate that we do see hotter conditions at times, and all the way to the end of the run, eventually low pressure systems try to push in. Again, if we look at the upper air temperatures, you can see hot air is moving in as high as 15 degrees at 850 HPA here. Again, you can see that's around 6 to perhaps as high as 10 degrees above average. So not anything ridiculously hot, but hot enough, likely to give us temperatures in excess of 30 degrees, perhaps as high as maybe 35. Again, look at the 2 meter temperatures here. Again, you see those temperatures as high as 32 to 33 in the far southeast, with the hottest air mass just staying into parts of northern France, Belgium and the Netherlands at around 35 to 38 there. So GFS, another very hot run for the GFS, but maintaining in the medium to longer range. So we'll just have to see exactly how it does develop. If you finish by looking at the ensembles here, generally warm over the next couple of days and the next week to 10 days. So you can see the GFS does go quite hot on this midnight ensemble run. This isn't the 6 o'clock run as it hasn't come out yet. Big ski over London, we do see some big up and downs in the longer term, but generally we're not seeing anything too distinct in the ensembles. Generally average in the longer term to slightly above average. Some hot runs, but it can be some cooler runs. The foreseeable future in the next week to 10 days is looking above average. No heatwave conditions, but still hot in places, with temperatures still pushing the mid to maybe high 20s on some of the days, but that will be all dependent on rainfall amounts. You can see past the next sort of 2 days or so where we see the rain today and potentially that frontal rainfall on Tuesday. Other points, we're not seeing anything too consistent from the ensemble members, again indicative of more shower activity than anything too major. If you do look at the ECMWF ensemble members, very similar, generally average to above average, very similar for the precipitation, and some hot runs in the longer term, but equally some cooler runs as well. No distinct outlook at this stage, just the potential as we do head towards the end of June and start of July. But at least the rest of June is looking quite likely to be above average, and it's looking like another very warm month. As I said in a few videos ago, it'll be very interesting to see some of the end of month data for how June has set up, as we've seen some very hot weather, nothing ridiculous, but very sustained around the mid to high 20s, and of course saw that period of 30 degrees plus last weekend into early this week. So we'll just have to see what happens, but very interesting seeing what's happening this month so far and how it could set up the rest of the summer. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure you stay safe out there whether you are impacted by the thunderstorms today or the general heavy rain. So the best piece of advice I can give is if you are seeing a thunderstorm around, do go indoors and try not to be out in the open. And of course, if you are thinking about the risk of thunderstorms through this afternoon, if you have got outdoor plans, have got stuff to be doing, do check out the live radars. That's the best way to know when thunderstorms are on your way. It is impossible really to predict exactly where thunderstorms will occur. That's the best way to do that is to look at the live radar, what is occurring right now, to see where things are moving. And of course, keep up to date with those weather warnings, and I'll have another video out later if we do see an amber warning issued. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.